Okay. In this video we'll be going over C# properties in .NET. So a property is a class member that holds a, so let's just maybe go down to these notes here. Delete some of these. So this is just the continuation. We'll have, it's not a lab yet, so it's just kind of like code example stuff. So properties. So properties are in JavaFX. They're not in every language. So C# has them. Usually you might see them with GUI languages. So a property is a class member that holds a piece. That holds a piece of data about an object. Let me try to put that on one line here. Okay. So property is a class member that holds a piece of data about an object. So properties are implemented as special methods. That are set and get the values of corresponding fields. So they're a little bit different than your normal setters and getters. So property is a special type of class member that allows an object to store and retrieve a piece of data. You're already familiar with properties because you have used them extensively when creating forms. So yes, we've used them. We haven't really discussed them, like how they work and all that, so I didn't really like these docs that much because of that reason when I was learning C#. But pretty much you are already familiar with property. Yes, we've already talked about that. So GUI controls have properties that determine their characteristics. For example, a label controls text property demonstrates that, or it demonstrates the text that is displayed by the control. So in code you work with properties in the same ways you work with variables. So for example, so that's okay. So I guess that could be true. They're pretty much like, I think of it as like a variable method. But they're not. So they're just a property. There's like special methods, but they also say that about the constructor, so it's a little bit tricky. So for example, assume that message label is the name of a label control. You can assign a specific value to the control's text properties. We've done that before. So maybe I'll just do an example for people that haven't seen any other videos on this channel. Whoops. Okay, so we'll pretend that we have, for example, a label, message label, points a new label. Then here, for example, we could say that we want message label dot text, so the dot text property to point to hi or something, whatever. Okay, so also you can assign a property to a variable. So we could do that as well. So you could say, for example, that you have a string str, and that points to the message label.text. So we've seen this before. So from these examples, you can see that a property is a class member that behaves like a public field, pretty much. So yes, you can see that a property. Sorry, you can see that a property from these. So yeah, sorry. Let me just start again. So from these examples, you can see that a property is a class member that behaves like a public field. But a property is not a public field. However, it is a set of it is a special set of methods known as accessors. Okay, so you may have seen that before. It's implemented a bit different in C#. So accessor methods. So for example, Java has accessor and what's the other one? Accessor and maybe modifiers. I can't remember. Oh, sorry. I think it's accessors and mutators or something like that. Something like around the lines of that. So pretty much That's what Java has, but in C# it's a little bit different. So I would say this is one of the trickier concepts of C#, this and the ref keyword, because they're different than other languages. So a property is not a public field, however, it is a special set of methods known as accessors, which work in conjunction with a private field. So the private field, which is known as the property's backing field, holds any data that is assigned to the property. The accessors allow code outside the class to get the property's value and assign values to the property. So that's confusing in itself, but pretty much. Let's just do some code examples on that. Okay, so let's say that we have, for example, so I think we've done this example, but this is a better example of that example. So in the notes, if you've seen that already in the previous video. So suppose you want to create a class named pet, or whatever, you could just call it animal, whatever it is. You go with class, we could go with animal. And here we could open a block, close a block. So for example, animal could represent an animal. This class will have a name property to hold the pet's name, or the animal's name. So let's just show how we could implement that. So for example, here we'll have a field, so field for the animal name or type, whatever name type. So we could have here, for example, private string, and I believe for the property you have to put an underscore. I don't think that's just convention. I think you actually need one. So we'll be doing this in a lab coming up, I believe. So private string, we could go with name. Then here the constructor. So here we could have, for example, we could go public animal. We could say that it takes no parameters. Okay, so public animal takes no parameters. Here we could say, for example, name points to empty string, so it's just an empty string to start. We could have set it to null or whatever. Okay, so here we could have, for example, okay, so this was actually the name. This was a field. Okay, so then we're going to create the property here. So to do that, this is how you do it. So go name property. That's just a comment. I'll go with a public string name. This is how you make it a property. You kind of join it with one of the fields. So you go get, we open a block, return name like that. Then here we go set. So it's different than having a getter and a setter method. That's like get, for example. We don't have a method named getSet, and we didn't define it like this, where we get the name, where we go like return name, return this dot name. See, that's how I would have done it in Java, right? Or you would have maybe, you can still do that in C#. But to create a property, it's similar, but it's different. It has its own concept. Like this is the actual syntax to create a property. You have to do get and set. It's not really a getter and setter, but in that sense it is. It's just tricky. So here we go, for example, underscore name points to, for example, value. Well, what's value? Well, value could be, so value could be pretty much, I think it's just a value that is assigned. So let's break down what happened here. So pretty much let's take a pretty much closer look at this. So the statement declares a private string field named underscore name. The underscore name field is a backing field for the name property. So this is the backing field. So this is the backing field for the name property. Okay. When a value is assigned to the name property, it is stored in the name field, or the underscore name field. Notice that we have started the field's name with an underscore character. This is not a requirement. Okay, so it's not a requirement in the docs, specify that. But okay, so pretty much a backing field doesn't need the underscore, so we'll just say doesn't need the underscore. So having the underscore is just a convention to help you eliminate confusion between the field name and the property name. So by following this practice, you're able to read the code more easily. So we have the class constructor right here, public animal. So the beginning of the property declaration is here. Start of the property declaration. Excuse me. It specifies three things about the property. So public, the property is public. So it can be used by code outside the class. So most properties are declared as public. So string, the property's data type is a string, and the name of the property is name. So type is a string and just a name. So an opening curly brace appears right here. The corresponding curly brace closes the property right there. So inside the braces are the names property, or the name property's accessors. So these are accessors. So this is the property's get accessor right there. That's the get accessor. So you can just think of the get accessor as a method that returns the property's value. You can see that that a return statement is then used to return the value of the name field or the underscore name field. The get accessor is executed anytime the property is read. Then we have the set accessor, which could be called a mutator, but I guess in C# they just say the set accessor. So the purpose of the set accessor is to set the property to a value. So the set accessor has an implicit parameter named value. It is implicit because it is not declared. So the set accessor has an implicit parameter named value. So that's this here. That's what we talked about, just that we're going to discuss about here. So pretty much we'll just talk about that here. We have, for example, so it is implicit because it is not declared. So as the parameters in a regular method are, so the value parameter is automatically created by the compiler, and its data type is the same as that of the property. So in this case, the value parameter's data type is string. Okay, so let's have a note. Let's note that here. So the value param is automatically created by the compiler. And its data type. And its data type is the same as that of the property. Is the same as that of the property. So in this case, this is a string, because the properties type is a string, so the value would be set to a string. So pretty much anytime a value is assigned to a property, the property's set accessor is executed. And the value being assigned is passed into the value parameter. So in the next video, we'll be continuing with the discussion about pretty much about properties. So we'll be going over the continuation of. So we will actually be creating some more properties. So we'll use the animal class's name property to actually set some more property values and actually assign some properties to other objects and all that. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the tutorial, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorial. So hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. It'll be in the playlist in C# on my channel. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Thanks.